This is Mario Andretti, and you're listening to Fascination Street podcast.
I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street.
Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This is another return appearance. This time, it's Vinnie Tortorich in his, wait for it, 5th appearance on Fascination Street podcast. In this episode, we open up the show with Vinnie catching a little bit of blame. Not his fault. Sorry about that, Vinnie. We get caught up a little bit with Vinnie, and then we talk about why he decided to make this film Beyond Impossible. This is Vinnie's 3rd documentary. Go get it. It is available on iTunes right now. We talk about the film, what made him want to make this film, who he made this film for, and without too much spoiling, we talk about some of the content of this particular documentary. We talk about some of the parts that made me personally laugh out loud and why those are accidentally funny. And then we close out the show talking about some of his other companies and how they were affected by the current global supply chain issues. And lastly, I talk about how Vinnie Tortorich made me hate my best friend. Enjoy, folks. This is Vinnie's 5th appearance on Fascination Street podcast. Go check out his new film, Beyond Impossible, available on iTunes, soon everywhere else. And this is my 5th conversation with my good buddy, Vinnie Tortorich.
Yeah, talk to me, yeah.
Are you ready?
I can't wait.
Welcome back to the Fascination Street podcast, Vinnie Tortorich. Have you any idea how many times you've been on my show now?
Can I guess?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, including this time, I'm usually pretty good at this. So we did the original one at a coffee shop.
Correct.
Then there was the other one. That's 2, 3. I'm going to say number 4.
Oh, you're so close. This is number 5. Can you believe that?
No, I was trying to, whenever I'm on people's shows, I always try to think, how many times have I been on? And I would have said, 4.
Before we get started, I told my wife, hey, I'm going to go do this interview real quick. And then she said, oh, who are you going to interview? And I said, Vinnie Tortorich. And she said, Vinnie Tortellini. And I said, yes. And then she said, well, make sure you tell him that now you have an eating disorder. So thanks a lot. Lately, and I really don't know why. I think I've just been busy and not hungry. But lately, for probably like the last week and a half or so, I only eat dinner. I don't eat breakfast. I don't eat lunch. I just have my shitload of coffee with a bunch of heavy cream in it. And then I don't eat until dinner. And so she's not really happy about that. But there you go.
So as the kids would call it, you have OMAD.
Oh,
you know what OMAD is?
I do not.
It's an acronym that the kids use on the internet. 1 meal a day. OMAD.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, it's trickery. And, there are a lot of people who eat 1 meal a day. The late, great Mariska Hargitay, one of the original.
Mariska's dad,
once married to Jane Mansfield. I think he was the original Mr. Universe.
Oh, Jane Mansfield is her mom.
That is correct.
Okay,
Mariska was in the car when her mom died.
Oof. You know, there's a piece of equipment on a tractor trailer that's named after her now.
After Jane Mansfield?
Yeah. It's called like the Mansfield bar or something like that. And what it is it's a bar that's comes down about 10 or 12 inches down past the trailer so that things like that don't happen again.
By the way, she was not decapitated in that accident.
Yeah, I know, but it's a salacious thing to say. So
yeah, people go, oh, she was decapitated because her wig was on the dashboard and a picture was taken. She had a wig on. People like a salacious story. Someone snapped a photo of it and there you have it. But yeah, Mariska and Zoli and all the kids. I don't know Mariska. I'm not
Sure.
I met her once along with her dad. I lived in their guest house
Oh, wow.
in Hollywood for a long time. And Mariska was already in New York doing her thing, trying to become an actor. She wasn't Mariska Hargitay yet. I remember her dad being very excited when she got a guest spot on Seinfeld.
Oh.
She had one of those one pop deals. And he was, oh, my daughter, he still had the Hungarian accent. My daughter, Mariska, she's on a bit. I was like, that's really good, man. And, but yeah, I lived in one of their guest houses, and he was one of the original big bodybuilders. And boy, the stuff I learned from him, but he would eat once a day, and the guy was perfectly lean, perfectly fit, long into, I think he died at 89 or 90 or something.
Right.
But if you look at him, he, after his bodybuilding days, he never put on an ounce of weight. If he took his shirt off, you would go, okay, this guy is a triathlete. He is just lean and mean, not an ounce of fat on him, and would eat once a day. That was it.
I think I need to go back to eating breakfast.
Yeah, not a bad idea. I generally eat twice a day. I have a nice sized breakfast, and then I have a dinner. And when I say nice size, it's somewhere between 3 and 6 eggs and some bacon. Or today I had, almost a pound of ground beef. Or sometimes I'll have the ground beef and a few eggs. You can't beat that as far as nutrition goes.
Sure. So the first time I had you on, that was a 2-parter, still only counting it as one. And that was at the coffee shop. We got to know you. We talked about your book. We talked about your history. And we talked about a little bit about your podcast. The second time you were on, we talked about Fat documentary. The third time you were on, we talked about Pure Vitamin Club and maybe Pure Coffee Club. I'm not sure. And then the last time you were on, which was the fourth time, we talked about NSNG Foods and ultra fat butter. So this is the fifth time, and we're going to talk about this super cool movie that I just watched. First of all, thank you. I am beyond honored that you let me sneak peek that thing. For everybody listening, I will still buy it because that's who I am. I love this dude. Got to support my man.
Oh, thank you, man. I really appreciate hearing that. And look, with me, it doesn't matter if it's Steve with the podcast or, some big media conglomerate. I treat all of you guys the same. It's you should be able to get a media copy just like everyone else. Some people won't do that, by the way.
You don't have to tell me.
Steve can't see the movie. It's like, well, he's interviewing me. He's spending the time. And you have a pretty nice size audience as far as podcasts go. But even if you had 10 people, if you were interested in interviewing me, I would send you a copy. It's just the way it is.
What a sweetheart you are.
But look, if anyone calls me and I've never heard of your podcast, to get it and put it out there before the release date, obviously I'm not sending it to that person.
Sure.
But people, legit media people, you guys all get it. And so far, I don't know what you think about it because I refuse to ask people off the air, but so far everyone seems to be liking it. I hope you felt the same way. I shouldn't have said that because I just put pressure on you, but.
Well, this is going to be hard for you to hear.
Go on. Oh boy.
No, it was awesome. It was awesome. I have some things that I would like to say about it. Some of my favorite. And I don't know if it was supposed to be, but in some parts, it was really, really fucking funny. Like, holy shit, it was hilarious in some parts. But I have a lot of questions about it, so I'm going to ask you some of those. But first, I will tell you that in a stroke of, I don't know, the universe being hilarious, this morning I was listening to your fourth appearance on my show just to kind of catch up and remember what we talked about, so we kind of don't really cover the same stuff again. And obviously, I have ads that I put in, and then there's ads that are put in by another company, right?
Sure.
The first ad that came was for a fish-free product. It doesn't matter what it's called, but it's a fish-free fish product, and that was the first ad. So it was like fake fish. It was
So
a
now they're
commercial.
doing fake fish.
Yes, this was a commercial for fake fish right before I listened to it so that I could talk to you about this new movie, and I could not stop laughing.
Well, now we have fake cheese, we have fake egg product,
Mm-hmm.
we have fake fish and fake meat. I mean, does anyone see a problem yet?
So I have some questions for you.
Okay.
First, why? Why did you make this film? Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Vinnie Tortorich. As I mentioned, previous guest multiple times. This particular episode, we're going to talk about this new film that he has directed, which will be released on January 11th, 2022. Yeah, it's coming out next week, and it's you can go get it. You can pre-order it for one more week until it comes out next week, January 11th. So why'd you make this film, Vinnie? Why did you feel the need? What hole is this filling?
I never feel the need to make a film. Nobody well, maybe some people do. They'll wake up in the morning, and if you're a filmmaker, you may have a need. I have a need to wake up. I love to exercise. I love skeet shooting. I have to go out and skeet shoot several times a week. I never get that yearning to make a film. And as a matter of fact, when I made the first film, Fat, a Documentary, I did not want to make it. I was very clear about that. As a matter of fact, when Peter Pardini, who did not work on this film, but he was the guy that came to me on the first movie, several guys had come to me. They wanted to do a movie with me because they felt like I should be the voice, because I had the book that was very popular. I had the podcast that was very popular, and I was on the Adam Corolla show. So everybody saw that as this guy should be making a movie. Besides, I was in Hollywood at the time, and I didn't want to do it. And then my way of getting out of it when Pardini came along, which was like the third or fourth guy who had come along, was I said, I don't have the money to do this. And he said, but you have a name. And I said, okay, well, if my name is so popular, why am I not rolling around in a Ferrari or a Lamborghini? He said, I don't think you understand. If you just put it out there, we could crowdfund this. And in order to shut him up, I said, okay, we'll crowdfund it. What do we need? And he said, if we get 150,000, we can make the movie. You really need about 200,000. My friend Mike August over at the Adam Corolla show said, if you don't have at least $500,000, don't do it. Adam Corolla said, no, Mike is wrong. If you're doing it yourself, 350, 400 to finish it. And Peter Pardini's telling me 200,000, but if we get 150, we'll get enough movie to where people might do a second buy-in, right? So I was like, okay, this will never happen, so why not? I'll play along and pretend that we can crowdfund this. Well, as fate would have it, we got the money. We crowdfunded it. We didn't get 150. We didn't even get 200. We got close to $250,000, which was a shock to me. Peter assured me that we could bring the movie in for that price. We didn't, but at that point, instead of crowdfunding again, I pulled money out of my own pocket, out of my own savings, my life savings, to finish the film. And that's how the first one got done. There was no need to do it. What I learned from that film, the same I've learned from my podcast and my book, is I'm a storyteller. I'm a guy that's interested in the truth. And all you have to do is give me a way to tell a story, right? If you could give me a way to tell a story, then I can use that medium to get that story out to people in a way that they can understand it. I learned that fact with Fat, a Documentary. And I used that same fact to make Fat, a Documentary 2. Now, that movie didn't cost me a whole lot because I had all the footage from one that I didn't use. And I wanted to tell a continuation of the story. And it was the beginning of the pandemic. And I had a shit ton of time on my hands. So I was able to sit and cobble it together. If you liked Fat 1, you will really like Fat 2 because I let those interviews roll a bit. So if you thought I was some kind of propaganda guy and I was cutting this film to make it fit what I was looking for, go watch Fat 2 because here's the rest of the story. Critically, Fat 2, most people will tell you is better than Fat, a Documentary, which is one of the best documentaries of all time. That's not coming from me. That's coming from the sales of Fat, a Documentary. It was number one on iTunes, number one on Amazon. Amazon moved it to Prime. It went around the world. You could find it on airlines everywhere. That's not me talking. That's a fact.
But also, Gravitas says it's their best-selling ever, right?
Best-selling movie of all time for someone like Gravitas that puts out movies with actual stars in them. So when I went to them with Fat 2, they were like, hell yeah, we'll take this. All Fat 2 had to do was make me enough money because it didn't cost me a lot. I was working with play money from the first movie. I said, this movie just has to make enough money to add to that play money so that I could go out and make this third movie. The why? The why is I just need a platform to tell a story. You know, just like a painter needs a canvas, I need some way to tell a story. I don't have a big following on YouTube. I don't have a big following on Twitter. I have like 30 or 40,000 people on Twitter. I only have 11 or 12,000 subscribers on YouTube because I don't spend a lot of time on YouTube, right? But people do follow me when I make a movie. Therefore, that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to go make the movie and get that out there. That's why we had to make this movie.
Okay, well, I first want to start by saying that everybody you mentioned in that story has been on my show. Previous guest, Peter Pardini, previous guest, Adam Corolla, and even previous guest, Mike August, if you can believe that. So everybody go check those out. Those were super
I need
fun.
to go listen to that interview because Mike is a friend of mine. We've become friends over the years. And as a matter of fact, right before this podcast, we were texting back and forth. Because one of his email accounts got hacked this morning. Did you get an email from one of his old accounts?
I didn't.
Okay, it must have been an account from before you knew him because I have an old Mike August. And they were asking for money. And I texted him. I said, Mike, you got hacked. And he goes, yeah, I know, but you can send me the money anyway.
That's Mike August.
Yeah, that's my boy.
That is hilarious. I love it.
Great guy.
So you told me the why. Now tell me, who is this for? Who are you trying to reach with this film?
As I told everyone when I wrote my book, you know, I had some douchey person say, who are you writing this for? And my answer was,
wait a minute.
But this person was one of those Hollywood douches. She thought she knew something about books and she kind of closed her eyes. And because I let her read the first chapter and she closed her eyes, she goes, Vinnie, who are you writing this for? And I said, everyone. But to be more specific with what you're asking, because you're asking it a different way. Am I trying to convert vegans? No. Am I trying to tell people over at PETA, hey, you're backing the wrong team? Yeah, maybe a little bit. I don't think I'm going to change any of their minds at all. This is written for the average person who sees this stuff in a grocery store. And even though they'll never become vegan or anything else, or if they see it at a McDonald's or at Burger King, I don't want them to go, oh, this is a healthier choice. Look at this. Because we started this narrative about 15 or 20 years ago that meat is bad, right? Meat is bad. Meat is bad. And if you want to be vegan, Steve, why worry about meat anyway? Well, those people are okay with without eating meat, right? This stuff is made for the person who does not want to be vegan. They're trying to fool those people. It's just like I tell people not to eat sugar. So they're sugar substitutes. Well, that's not going to help. You still got a problem. Sugar substitutes are not healthy. Meat substitutes are not healthy. Meat is very healthy. So this movie was done for people who are on the fence. They don't understand. Maybe they've read something or heard something. You know, we have New York has meatless Mondays and politicians are talking about pulling meat out of school and we shouldn't have meat. And meat's an abomination for the planet. All false narratives. This is for those people. I'm not trying to convert any vegans to come back because they come back on their own. You know, 87% of people who become vegan stop in the first 6 months. I'm not worried about those people. I'm worried about everyone else.
You know you're going to catch a lot of shit when this comes out, right?
I'm catching shit already.
Oh, cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what are you going to say when somebody says, I don't know, if somebody says something like garbage, lies, and propaganda?
Oh, so you must have read my tweets this morning because, you know, they're saying that already. And whenever they say, oh, this is propaganda, this is garbage, this is lies, I sit there and go, oh, wow, you got all of that from a 1 minute preview of a movie? All of it? Really? How did you figure that out from 1 minute? But they're doing that. They're going after me already. We're recording this probably a month out from when the movie comes out. It sounds like you're going to put it out about a week before it comes out.
Uh-huh.
I'm already taking crap. On day 8th of December, I'm taking crap a month out. People are ready to hang me in effigy or actually hang me in real life, but someone's got to do it. No one's ever brave enough to do it. I'm the guy. I don't care what you say about me. I'm just trying to save people.
Well, how sweet are you? When you were driving,
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Welcome to the Player Series. I'm Gary Player, and throughout the series, we're going to take you through incredible stories, conversations with legends and current players, perspectives on current events in and around golf, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe to the Player Series on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast.
Let's get back into it.
when you were driving through Texas, as you did a few times, did you happen to notice or stop at a giant monolithic store and gas station called Buckies? Are you familiar with a Buckies?
I am familiar with Buckies. Whenever I see Buckies on the side of the road, usually they started in Texas. I think they're branching out.
Okay.
It seems like kind of a white trash Riviera.
Exactly what it is. But
it's a truck stop with like every fast food restaurant in it.
Oh, no.
Games and all kinds of stuff.
No, it doesn't have that. So I hated it. I would never stop there. I was like, this is just like your perception. I'm like, look, this is a white trash destination. There's nothing that they have that I need. First of all, they don't even allow trucks. It's just cars and passenger vehicles. They have the best prices on gas. They have something like 85 pumps. They have 100 restrooms, which are always clean. And the food that they have, they all make there. They sell brisket sandwiches. They sell jerky, but then they sell.
Really?
Yeah. They also sell, chips and whatever, stuff like that they make too. But the food actually is really good. The brisket, the jerky, people travel for miles just to buy their
come
jerky.
For the gas, stay for the brisket. Is that their?
Yeah, that's kind of it. Yeah. But their little, I guess, mascot is a beaver, right?
Right.
It's because the guy who started it, his last name was Beaver. And so they have this little mascot that's a beaver, and they sell a shitload of merchandise with that little beaver on it. You'll see people wearing a Buckies hat. You'll see them wearing a Buckies t-shirt, a Buckies hoodie, whatever. The reason I bring that up is because there's a Bucky in your movie.
Okay.
One of the, I guess it's a clip from a processing plant, and there's a dude wearing like a hard hat.
Right.
And right on the middle of it, he's got this giant Bucky sticker. And I saw it and I was like, nah. And then I rewound it and I was like, I did see that, I think, but it's a real fast clip. So it took me 14 times to try and pause it on the right spot, but I finally got it. And so I know it's there. Also in that clip, there's a chyron at the top right that says presented by Capital One. Capital One doesn't have anything to do with your movie. This was footage that you obtained from.
Right, this is footage that I'm using because you can use X amount of footage and so on and so forth.
Okay. So I just thought it was really funny that Bucky's is everywhere. That just made me laugh. I don't know what state that was in. I don't know where that guy is, but I just thought it was hilarious that little beaver is really getting around.
I edited it for months and months and months. And, I had the longer clip of that and never noticed that. I know exactly what you're talking about. I never noticed the little Bucky's insignia. As a matter of fact, I've never been into a Bucky's. I didn't know they serve brisket.
Yeah, you should go.
I've driven probably through Texas more than any other state, period, because I would drive back and forth when I lived in California for 30 years.
Right.
Sometimes twice a year. So God only knows how many times I've driven the length of Texas on Interstate 10 from El Paso all the way down through Houston, where it goes into Louisiana. So, whenever I'd see a Bucky's exit, they have signs, Bucky's coming up. Bucky's, 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 like Stuckey's used to be when I was a kid.
Exactly. They're so into their billboards that there's signs that say Bucky's 87 miles. You can hold it.
Oh, yeah. So whenever I see stuff like that, guess where Vinny's not going to go?
Exactly. I was that way for a decade. And when I finally stopped in there, it's the greatest thing ever.
But you see, when I travel, of course, I've talked about this ad nauseum on my show. I carry an ice chest with everything I need for that trip.
Sure.
Even if I would be like in my sports car, right, with one other seat, I had my food, my little ice chest, everything set up on the passenger seat because I like to go. I like to drive.
Yeah,
I don't
you like
really
to get there. You're on your way somewhere. You want to get there. I get it.
And when I get gas, I'm always looking for, and I know where they are in Texas now. I know where you could get gas and where you're not going to get gas again for the next gazillion miles, right?
Right. Yep.
I had a different protocol when I had a diesel truck because that thing can go a lot further. So I would have P breaks in between gas stations with that thing because it went like 600 miles between fill-ups. But I'm serious about when I drive, and I don't want anything that looks like a casino. I want to get off the freeway, pump, and get out. I'm like an F1 race,
Makes
boom,
sense.
boom. And when I see something like Buckies, it's like, that's a no-go. That's why.
That makes sense. Now, these are some weird questions I'm going to ask you, so feel free to not answer or tell me to fuck off or whatever.
Can I start off by telling you to fuck off, or do I have to wait to hear the weird question?
Well, I'll just pull that clip and then I'll paste it in after every time I ask you a question. How's that?
Okay, let me say it right now. Fuck off, Steve. Okay, now go on.
Thanks. Even though this film doesn't technically have any stars in it, it has one of the most currently talked about and visible stars in the news right now. Can I say who that is?
Sure.
Did you have to pay Alec Baldwin to be in this film?
No, I did not.
Why is that?
Because when you're putting out something as educational content, documentary, you can use a certain amount of people. There's more than one star in there. There's a football player in there too.
Sure, basketball player, yeah.
Basketball player, and on and on and on. Now, if I was cutting together word after word of him talking and using him, because you could do that digitally now, you can almost get anyone to say anything you want them to say in the whole movie. And I advertised it as Alec Baldwin presents, or Alec Baldwin in. You can't do that. But I think we use 30 seconds or less about Alec Baldwin overall. There was talk, because the movie was already in the can. All of the assets were shipped to the distributor, to Gravitas Ventures. And not Gravitas, but some people around me said, do you think we should pull the Alec Baldwin thing out? Which means we would have had to take it back from Gravitas, go in and do it. And I said, absolutely not. What happened was a great tragedy, but this has nothing to do with that. So I felt like we should leave it in. Did you get any feeling about that as a viewer?
It didn't bring up any of the current stuff that's going on with him to me. Like it didn't bring that into my viewing experience or anything like that.
Right.
I just thought, wow, what a weird coincidence that the next movie that Alec Baldwin has coming out, he probably doesn't even know is coming out.
Right. And he's not the focal point of the movie. He's, as I say, he's only in there for a couple of seconds, along with other celebrities,
right,
to show how there's this celebrity power behind this whole industry. And that's what we were showing more than anything else.
Now, this next bit might hurt. Now,
sure.
This is the part where you really are going to tell me to fuck off. I love Serena, right?
Yeah, everyone does. Yes. I get to hear that every day.
Everyone does. I love Serena.
The world loves my wife.
Listeners, his wife is the lovely and talented Serena Scott Thomas. She's a Bond girl. She's a previous guest of my show. She's the voice you hear sometimes on a commercial I play. And she does some voiceover in this film, Beyond Impossible. And the only thing that I have is a question. What is it that a cow farts out?
You and I would say methane.
Oh, okay, cool. What the fuck is methane?
Methane is how the Brits say methane.
Oh, man. Does she say aluminum the wrong way, too?
Yeah, aluminium. And she also says boot for trunk. And the bathroom is a loo. A windshield on a car is a windscreen.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things that they just can't figure out. They would tell us that they created the English language, but they can't. There's a lot of words they can't get right. And you know, it's so funny. Again, editing the movie and handing her the script to read, I didn't even hear it as methane, but as soon as you said methane, I went, oh, he's going to say methane. When you live with someone long enough, methane becomes like a reasonable way of hearing that word. I will never get used to aluminium, no matter how many times I hear it.
Good. Okay, that's all. Those are my critiques. Just kidding. All right, Mr. Smarty Pants. This is my third documentary, and I write books and I make movies about things. We got a pop quiz. All right.
Okay.
What do these words mean? Certified keto.
It means nothing. No one is certifying keto whatsoever. The FDA does not have any certification program for anything keto. As a matter of fact, keto is not even a word. It's short for ketogenic.
So there is no certifying body who could certify anything keto, even though you see certified keto or keto friendly or keto whatever all over packaging.
You can sell a bucket of sugar and plaster on the side, certified keto.
That's going to come up later. I'm glad you said it.
Okay.
What does the word organic mean?
I guess we're talking about in the context of food. It's supposed to mean that it's pure, that it was made without any chemicals and what have you. That is not the truth. Let's say you wanted to sell organic tomatoes, and you can have written on, stamped on a tomato, organic tomatoes. And in your mind, you think that's healthier, right? Because it's organic. They didn't use any chemicals in the process here. What they don't tell you is the FDA, who does regulate the word organic, will not allow you to use it unless you do certain things. But if you do those things, so let's say you use all of these chemicals to kill bugs that are non-chemical related. They're all natural, right? To kill the bugs so that your tomato can live. And your tomato is still getting bugs. In the 11th hour, you can spray it with all kinds of chemicals from any company you want, Seven Dust, anything that's being made by Monsanto or anyone else, and still stamp it, certified organic. They allow them to do that. So you can put all of this other crap on it. If it doesn't work, you can then spray it and still call it organic. So there's a lot of loopholes, if you will, in the whole organic thing.
Sweet. In your film, Beyond Impossible, there is a man, I do not remember his name, but he explains that if you're growing something that you're going to call organic, you have to use actual fertilizer from butts. He actually says from butts, which made me laugh again. That was really funny.
Yeah.
So organic foods are grown with
manure and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that comes from the meats.
Right. I guess you could say they're still exploiting animals.
Kind of.
The group that says let's not exploit animals are exploiting animals. So it depends on how far you want to go with it. And some vegans will say, look, I'm not a vegan for ethical reasons. I'm just a vegan for health. Okay, well, you're misguided, but okay, that's fine. And those vegans will still wear belts and all that kind of stuff because they'll go, look, the animal's dead anyway. I'm just doing it for health. The ones that are more PETA style, it sounded like pedophile, but PETA style vegans where they believe that, the animal should never be your slave in any way, shape, or form. Nothing should come from their butt that should end up helping your food.
But moving on in this vocabulary quiz, what the fuck is heme?
Heme is a product that they make,
Who's they?
They meaning the vegans.
Oh, okay.
They want something to look like the hemoglobin that comes from animal meat in their product, right? They want it to bleed. So everything they're against, they're actually doing. It looks like meat. It tastes like meat. It bleeds like meat, but it's not bleeding because what you're seeing in your meat is not blood. It's hemoglobin. And that's the red stuff you see in muscle, right? That's not the animal bleeding.
What's myoglobin?
Now you're hitting me with something. Here, let me give you the difference.
You personally, you yourself said myoglobin, and I was like, what the fuck is myoglobin?
Myoglobin is a protein located primarily in the striated muscle of vertebrae.
So I don't have any. I got no muscle.
I see what you did there. You even have it, Steve. You got a muscle somewhere. I'm sure it's probably
the disappointed look on your face at that terrible joke. Oh man.
Yeah. It's like, come on, Steve, you've done better.
That was like the disapproving glance of a father.
Yes. What the F, brother? You got better stuff than that.
Are you going to start selling T-shirts that just say 24 minutes, 2 seconds?
I should.
You guys can find out why later.
Yeah, we won't say what it is here, but we tell you in the movie, you can go here and see everything you need to see.
This question, you sort of answered it already, but I'm going to ask it anyway. There's a bunch of people that you asked to be in your film, a bunch of people who are experts in their field who have an opposing viewpoint to yourself. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay. They all said no or didn't answer or whatever. And then you put them in the film anyway. How do you legally get around someone saying they don't want to be in your documentary and then you put them in the documentary anyway?
I don't understand how the legalese work. I just know that we spend a lot of money on attorneys that approve all this stuff. Just like you can mention Alec Baldwin and show his likeness in a movie. I was trying to do a very different movie. I wanted to get to the bottom of it using both sides. I wasn't trying to hang these people in my movie. I just wanted to hear their side. Whenever you see these vegan propaganda films, they're only showing one side.
Right.
So I went, okay, what if we show both sides? And I was honestly trying to do that. I wanted an honest conversation from both sides. So I went to the powers that be. I went to the Walter Willits, who heads up the program at Harvard. So whenever you hear Harvard study shows, he's a devout vegan. He has a lot of yank when it comes to the World Health Organization and all these different world groups. He takes a lot of money from Unilever and all of these big food companies to push this crap. Why not hear from the man himself? Let's have some honest dialogue. You talk about these studies. We're reading the studies and it's not even coming out the way you said these studies came out. You're cherry picking from your own studies. He just turned us down. And all I was saying in the movie was, look, we asked Walter Willett, here's the letter we sent to everyone. And here's what they said. And each one of them that we went to, and we showed the top guys, we didn't show all of them.
Right.
But categorically, every one of them that we went to. We showed in the movie Walter Willett. We showed Dean Ornish. We showed Michael Greger and McDougall. We showed 4 or 5 of them in the movie. I couldn't put them all in. It would have been a whole movie of people turning me down. And I actually showed their return letters to me. What's illegal about that? It's like, look, I asked these people to be in the movie. Here are their turn down letters. I don't want them to be able to say, oh, wait, I would have been in Vinnie's movie. He didn't really ask me. No, here's the letter, motherfucker. And here's your answer back to me, motherfucker. I don't know what else to do. Right. As a matter of fact, one of them started badgering my assistant, Megan.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah. Do you know Megan?
Through social media, I do.
Yeah. Megan goes, bird dog everyone for me, but she's the one that actually sent the letter out and got it back and the whole thing. McDougall started badgering her. And I was like, is this even, I guess it's legal. So I'm not showing anything that you can't show in a movie. I'm saying, look, we went out to these powers that be, but they didn't want to play along. So I don't know what else to do. I can only show what I can show. And by the way, when I went out to Tony Hampton or Frederick Lacroix or Matt Lerner or any of these people, they said, absolutely, I would love to be in your movie. Here's a release. Absolutely, because that was McDougall's problem. He goes, I'll be in your movie, but I'm not signing a release. Well, nowhere in history has that ever been done. You must sign a release. We can't use your likeness without your permission. We could do this other thing where we're showing a story about you without your permission, but we can't do this.
And I'm going to say that maybe the theory behind that is that, let's just use Alec Baldwin. Whatever he was shooting, he signed a release for that. And then you're just using that he already filmed. But he signed a release already for that. So in theory, right? Maybe? Who knows? Who cares?
No, it's something to do. I'm not a legalese. There's something to do with fair use, right? There's a fair use clause whenever you're making a documentary, right? Like I said, I can't just go willy-nilly take stuff about Alec Baldwin, piece it all together and make an Alec Baldwin movie starring Alec Baldwin. I'll give you another example. If I had just used Cam Newton, who's in the film, and Alec Baldwin and the Olympic star, and all, but if I had used any of those people in the trailer, then it would have been a problem, because then they could come back and say, oh, you're using me to sell your movie. You're using my likeness to sell my movie. So the law is very specific as to what you can do and what you can't do. We're not skirting the law. Everyone does this.
Sure. Yeah.
If you got a couple $100,000 and you want to make a documentary, you can do that too. There are certain ways you can do it. And the legalese will tell you exactly what you can do and what you can't do.
Oh, kind of like how Corolla made that Newman documentary, and I don't even think the estate knew about it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You can do a whole thing on Paul Newman. And I think he probably tried to get the estate involved because
I think they said no thanks. I think that's
really
what happened. Yeah. Don't quote me on that, guys. That's just what I think I remember him saying back at that time.
I just remember, having some dinners with him and the whole thing where he was very proud and happy about that documentary. It was kind of at the beginning of our friendship when that was all being made. I'm so glad he got that done. My favorite movie that he's ever done is called Uppity. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
Oh, the Willie T. Ribbs story.
Yeah.
You know what that movie was supposed to be called, right?
I do.
Okay, cool.
Well, I know what he's told me in private.
He has said it publicly. The whole time he was making it, he was like, it's going to be called this because that's what they called him. And then when it came to crunch time, I guess it's hard to sell a movie with that word in the title. So.
Right. You can't put the N word in the title of a movie and hope.
And he's got I think it's his 6th book that he's finishing up right now. They just changed the name of that because it had a bad word in the title too. So, stuff happens.
Yeah. And by the way, it wasn't Adam Corolla that wanted to call it that. It was Willie.
It was Willie himself. That's correct.
That wanted to call it that. Adam was trying to honor him. But again, you get your attorneys together and they'll go, look, we don't need this fight. We're going to have enough fights.
That's right. Hey, do you want to sell copies or do you want to take this stand?
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Hi, guys. I'm Vinnie Tortorich. I'm the guy that has the Fitness Confidential podcast and the book by the same name. I've started a few companies, but I just started a company called NSNG Foods. And our first product is Ultra Fat. What's that? You say fat? Oh, yeah. It's got fat in it. It's got ultra fat. And the reason we call it ultra fat is because it also has electrolytes. So this is something you want to take when you're on the move, taking the nation and the world by storm. We have the coffee almond with coconut and vanilla. We also have the one with coconut, vanilla, and almonds with no coffee. So you can go check it all out, nsngfoods.com. Now go listen to my good friend Steve Owens because he knows what he's talking about.
Let's get back into it.
So you mentioned Dean Ornish. What is his expertise? The reason I'm asking is because he's going to be on my show next week. But tell me what. Yeah, see, I got your attention. I'm just fucking with you.
Dean Ornish, he came to attention in the 1980s. He wrote a couple of books saying that, he became friends with Bill Clinton. He had a platform. There was no podcast back then. There was nothing. That was back when if you wrote a book and you're friends with the president of the free world and that guy's got a heart disease, which Bill Clinton did, then you're now famous by rote, right? So that's how Dean Ornish came to light. And he wrote these books that sold bazillions of copies. I ask people all the time, have you seen Dean Ornish? Does he look healthy to you? And the answer is no.
He doesn't just look unhealthy. He looks a little bizarre. It's like his face doesn't match his body. It's very weird. It looks like he was cobbled together later. I know that's a terrible thing to say, I guess, but it did stand out that he doesn't look as healthy as he.
And I don't mean to really rag on any of these guys, but Dean Ornish does not look healthy, but he's older. Walter Willett, I guess, looks the healthiest out of all of them somehow. Dr. Grieger, or Gregor, depending on who you ask, looks horrible, and he's not 50. Like, whenever I take a picture of Gregor, I'll take 4 or 5 pictures so that people don't think, I'm just picking one bad picture. I'll take 4 or 5 pictures of him and say, give me the age of this guy. They'll inevitably say, I don't know, 60 plus. The guy's not in his 50s yet. I think he's like 46 or 47.
Is that the guy that towards the end, you say, this is going to be uncomfortable, but here it is?
Yeah, it's
That's
that guy.
The guy? I could not stop laughing because boy, was it uncomfortable. That guy's my age.
He's maybe 46, 47. Yeah.
Whoa.
You wouldn't have guessed that, right? If I hadn't brought this up, be honest with me.
Honestly, I thought he was in his mid to late 50s at the best. Holy moly. He's my age. Wow.
It's not turning out well for him. He calls himself a doctor. He's not really a doctor. And his own guy, McDougal, It's an uncomfortable moment. And
Boy, is it. That was fantastic.
And believe it or not, I show a piece with him on London Reel's show. And my attorney came to me and said, listen, one of the problems, because you have these long meetings with your attorneys and they're on my side, but if we get sued, they have to go to bat for me. They said, look, you have this guy, Michael Greger, and he's on this one video, this London Reel video. He looks like he's out of his mind. So obviously you've taken that out of context and, you can't just pull one crazy moment. And I told my attorney, I said, I'm paying for this. Go watch the whole video and tell me if I'm pulling one moment out of context, or does he look like an insane person the entire time? He called me back about an hour later and he said, never mind. I'm not being funny about this. We have Lear Keith in the movie, who was a long-term vegan. We didn't have that clip in the movie, but she said on my podcast, after a certain point, you start losing your mind. You're aging at a rapid pace by not eating animal protein of some sort.
One of my other favorite parts in the movie, where again, I could not stop laughing, was where you looked into some of the athletes that were mentioned on a different game-changing documentary.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Thank you for doing that. It was the highlight of the film for me, because I did see that other film a few years ago, and I was like, we'll get right on out of town. And then fast forward to your film, and I loved it. So thank you for doing that. It was fan-freaking-tastic.
I could have done a whole movie just critiquing that film.
I'm sure.
We're talking about the movie Game Changers. I couldn't say that in the movie, as you noticed.
Mm-hmm.
I changed it up a bit because I didn't want to get sued on that.
Sure.
The whole movie was, I should call this movie How Not to Get Sued.
Oh, maybe that'll be your next one.
Write that down, How Not to Get Sued. But, a couple of things happened. I was driving across Texas, going back to that. Before I got to any Buckies, I was still all the way up in West Texas. And I was humming along and I turned on the Adam Corolla show. And he had the narrator from Game Changers on. And I'm listening. And the guy's just making these crazy claims, right? And I went, okay, none of this is true. As a matter of fact, I called Chris Laxamana. I said, look, I'm going to still be driving tomorrow. What time are you guys recording? And he started laughing. And I said, what's so funny? He goes, we figured if you listened to the podcast, we were all betting on how long it would take for you to call in. I said, yeah, can you bring me on for a couple of minutes? And I debunked, without ever seeing the movie, just hearing what the guy was saying on the Adam Corolla show, I just was able to debunk what he was saying because it was just that outlandish. And Adam even admitted, he goes, the guy was a guest in the studio. I knew he was lying. And the whole idea behind Game Changers was these people are changing the games. They're elite athletes who eat a vegan diet, right? So one of the guys in the movie is this weightlifter, and they said he's the strongest man in the world. When you watched Game Changers, right? What did they say about that athlete?
Yeah, that's what they said. I mean, they made it seem like this guy was winning all the competitions and he was beating that one nerd from Game of Thrones.
Right. The way they made it look was there was no guy stronger in the world. Well, you want to talk nerds. I'm a nerd. I've been watching strongman competitions ever since I was a kid when they would put it on Wide World of Sports on the weekend. And I went, okay, I've never heard of this guy before. Like literally, I've never heard of this guy. So not only is he not one of the strongmen, I don't think he's ever been invited to the show, right? He's never been invited to a strongman competition. Most of these guys live in Norway or Reykjavik, Iceland, or somewhere where it's freezing cold and they have nothing but a barbell. And these guys are superhuman. They look like Vikings. I mean, they're incredibly strong. They come from, Oslo. They're all from Oslo and Reykjavik and places like that.
The guy who I think is the current champion and maybe two-time or something, strongest man in the world or whatever, I think he's the guy who played the Mountain on Game of Thrones. Huge Viking-looking dudes.
Yeah, he's always in it. I don't know if he is the strongest man. There was a guy from England for a while that won it once or twice. The guy from that, I know he's in the game, but I'm not sure if there's different competitions. Well, at any rate, this guy who doesn't even look to be the size of those guys. Yes, he's a behemoth, but he's not of the ilk. There's a certain look, there's a certain ilk of these gentlemen. So I went, okay, There's no way. So I started looking into it, and I couldn't find where he had won any competitions to be a strongman, right? Because there's different competitions. And they kept showing him doing the yoke carry and all this kind of stuff. And I think the real record on that is way higher, you know, and I'm just looking into it because I'm really interested in it. And as it turns out, he won strongman at a vegan competition in a town in Texas where there was like 1,600 people in the whole town. So he's the strongest vegan in that town that day.
Love it.
Yeah.
I could not stop
You
laughing.
couldn't make this stuff up.
That's why it was so great. I was like, hey, wait a minute. That's not how it came off in the film Game Changers. That is
Now,
not
let me
how
ask
it came off at all.
I'm going to ask you this. You saw Game Changers. You saw the female athlete, you know, the Olympic runner from New Zealand or Australia.
Yeah, Australia.
Okay. In the movie, how did they make her look? Like she was the grand champion of everything?
Fastest lady on the planet.
Yeah, no one faster. And she's a vegan, right? She became faster when she became a vegan. So they said she went to the Olympics. Not easy to get to the Olympics unless you're in Jamaica and you join the bobsled team.
Take it easy. That guy's a friend.
Listen, I'm a big fan of what those guys did because Jamaica has some of the fastest runners in the world. Bobsledders have to be fast. They couldn't make it here. So, hey, we can make it there. Every now and then they'll show you a feel-good story in the Olympics where a country sent someone who really couldn't even swim across the pool, pretty much. And they'll show a human interest story on that guy.
Sure.
I started looking into this. I think she was a 400-meter runner. I started looking into it and said, well, they're saying she's the best. Did she win gold? No. Okay. So there was someone faster than her. She must have won silver. Oh, obviously, she was on the podium because they're saying she's one of the fastest athletes in the world. She's got to be top 3. She's got to be on the podium.
If they had a podium that stretched far enough to put her on it, she wouldn't have been in the stadium.
That is correct. She finished 24th, or as I say in the movie, behind 23 meat eaters. So is it a great feat to make it to the Olympics? Absolutely. Absolutely great feat. I couldn't do it at all. But I'm not bragging and saying, hey, I'm an Olympic level athlete. They're saying this woman is one of the grand champions of the Olympics, yet she didn't even make it on television. The stuff we see in the Olympics on television, that's after a lot of trials. That's a lot of heats. And then they'll show you the top heats. When you're finishing 24th, you're not making it on television even. So again, another lie. So I could have done 6 more lies about what was in that movie, but I just wanted to do a couple of really big ones to give everyone the idea.
Yeah, kind of got your point across on that. 4-time Olympic Jamaican bobsledder Winston Watts. He was a guest on my show. Super nice guy. And he was going to go for a 5th one, but COVID and things. So there you go. I don't know. He's in his 50s or something. And he probably could still do it. He's so massive. That's a big dude. So as we're winding down, I want to ask you some other questions related to your other businesses. But before we leave Beyond Impossible, again, folks, it's coming out next week, January 11th. You can pre-order it right now on iTunes or whatever podcast's version of iTunes is for whatever. Buy it from Apple. And then next week you can get it and it's not a pre-order. So other things, you have other companies. You have a vitamin company, a coffee company, and a nut butter company. All I've been hearing about for the last 3 or 4 months is supply chain issues this and supply chain issues that. Has that affected all of your businesses?
It has not affected the coffee business whatsoever. It has not affected most of the vitamin business, but we had trouble with our D vitamin. It was a perfect storm. You know, we sell a lot of D vitamin and we make a lot of D. We make a lot of everything, but there was a run on D because of COVID. All these reports came out that most people who got severely ill from COVID or died from COVID, this thing came out and showed that all of these people had deficiencies in vitamin D. The media just kept pumping that and we kept trying to keep up with demand. So we started ordering. We have to order the raw product, the D, to put into our D with our MK7, you know, the metaquinone 7, and our olive oil, our special olive oil. We mix it. I think we make what's the best D in the world, but we couldn't get all of the supplies. We couldn't get the D fast enough, the raw material. And then the company that makes the labels for that, We couldn't get that. So when you have a run on a product, we couldn't foresee that happening, right? But now we're shipping out right now on the 8th of this month. We've been shipping for a week. We're probably still a week behind because we had tens of thousands of orders behind. As a company, it was driving us nuts.
I bet.
And we have already ordered more. We made a brand new vitamin C product, liposomal vitamin C. It's a special kind of vitamin C that absorbs better than any other C. We're still waiting for some of that material to make it to our warehouse so that we can build the product. And when you start saying, okay, supply chain, where's it breaking down? No one can give you a real answer. But from what I can tell is because they can't get anyone to show up and work. We don't have stuff stuck in containers offshore and everything else. People can't get people to go to work, and we're dealing with that. And we had a few issues with the nut butter, but that's also been remedied.
Very cool. You said that you think that your vitamin D is the best vitamin D in the world. Is it because you use the best olive oil in the world?
That's part of it. There's grades of vitamin D you can get. The first thing you want is to get vitamin D3. You want to get it from a reliable source. You want to get it sourced correctly. Vitamin D absorbs better when you add vitamin K to it. So a lot of people will sell D and K together, but I have these scientists that I work with, and I said, which part of K actually works? And under K, there's K1 and K2, right? So there's two different kinds of vitamin K. So under K2, there are two elements in there. One is called menaquinone 4, and the other is called menaquinone 7, better known as MK4 and MK7. That's the part that synergistically works with D3 to absorb in your body. So you're not just taking it and peeing it out. It's getting into your cells because of this menaquinone 7 and menaquinone 4. That's getting deep into it.
And people think you're just a Dumbo athlete.
Yeah. And I'm supposed to just be some idiot that bangs a Bond girl from time to time.
Dang.
But yeah, it making vitamins correctly that actually work is no easy feat, and it costs a lot to do.
I can't imagine. All right. Last question. I have a hunch you're not going to answer it. Word around the playground is that you're finally going to be on a really big podcast besides my podcast.
Yours. It's not Joe Rogan. It's one that's fairly comparable. No one is as big as Rogan, but it's almost that big. We have word out to Joe Rogan and his people again, as I've done in the past. I've never been on Joe Rogan's show. Is that who you were asking about, Rogan?
I was asking, who is this show? And since you weren't going to tell me, I was going to say, is it Rogan? But it's not.
I saw I ruined that for you.
No, that's okay. I was just going to invite myself. It's an hour away. I was just going to invite myself and be your plus one.
Well, you know what? If I do get on, I'll share it with you.
Joe would love that.
Yeah,
oh, Vinnie, finally. And who is this idiot?
My guy, Steve, right here. Come on.
He's my
Steve,
driver. He's just carrying my bag of bacon so I don't get hungry.
He wants to know what myoglobin is whenever I do his show. That kind of thing. It's a really big podcast. It's and you'll have to wait and see. I did Corolla today, so it can't be Corolla.
Sure.
I'm doing Drew tomorrow.
Sure.
I got you sandwiched right between Corolla and Drew. That's my schedule. Adam, Corolla, sense. Steve, and then Drew.
Well, both of them have been on my show, and at least one of them, I think, still likes me. So that's cool.
I won't ask.
But when you're on tomorrow with Drew, talk to him about Rogan, because now him and Rogan are buddy. So he's got Rogan people, and then Rogan is trying to get Drew to come on and smoke weed.
Has Drew ever smoked weed?
You can ask him tomorrow, but I think he has, and he said it doesn't really do anything for him. It doesn't do anything. So he said, why would I smoke that? It doesn't have any effect on me.
I would give anything to see Drew high.
So would Gary Patrick Smith.
I'm going to ask Drew about that tomorrow.
Yeah, ask him, bring it up.
I would love to see him high. I was just with Drew a couple of weeks ago at Gina's wedding, and I miss those guys. I'm not in California anymore. You know that about me.
Yes, sir.
I'm on the East Coast, and I'm there with Drew and Adam, and Dan Dunn was there.
Yeah, he was.
I was like, oh, man.
Was Gary Ghost there?
Dawson. No, he was supposed to be at our table. He was stuck in Greece or something.
Oh, he was at a different wedding in Greece.
Yeah, I don't know where he was, but he wasn't there. I miss those guys. And Mike Dawson was there. I miss him. These are all good people. I do get out to do Corolla's show in studio a bunch, but you don't see them all in one place.
Right. Yeah.
And everybody was getting their drink on and everything. And it was just a good time.
Nice. Well, be sure to bring that up with Drew tomorrow. And
I'll try to remember.
How could you possibly forget that? I'll text him and tell him to bring it up with you tomorrow. That said, Vinnie Tortorich, tell everybody where they can find you. Tell the people where you can be found.
I can be found at 7-Elevens around the country.
Oh, nice.
VinnieTortorich.com. I answer questions, as many as I can every day on Twitter and on Instagram and that kind of thing. So you can find me there. And wherever, finer podcasts are sold. I'm on all the platforms or whatever. And,
what's it called?
The Fitness Confidential Podcast. There's a book called Fitness Confidential. That's mine. Make sure my name's on it, because apparently when you write a hit book, then other people can put that title on their book and try to sell it.
Oh, nice.
That should be illegal, but
it should be. And you kind of don't have to tell me. I think there's 4 other Fascination Street podcasts now.
Wow.
So that's awesome.
You can't make them go away. It's like people can just steal. If you're a crook, you have more.
That could be a whole nother show. We're not doing that today. Vinnie Tortorich, or Vinnie Tortellini, as my wife likes to call you.
The eating disorder guy.
Well, no, I have an eating disorder, not you.
Yeah, because of me.
Yeah, I apologize. Sorry you took the bullet on that one, buddy. To be clear, everybody listening, Vinnie never once advised me to only eat dinner. He never ever said that.
Even did that on his own.
I did it all by myself. Vinnie Tortorich, thank you again, man. Number 5 did not disappoint. I appreciate you every single time. You were always courteous and cordial to me. You answer me when I reach out to you faster than I could ever expect. You have always been good to me. Thank you so much. Oh, one more thing I want to say is that after I finish my lawsuit against you, because I had to buy all new clothes, I'm going to start a second lawsuit because my best friend of like 20 years, now I hate him because I introduced him to you and your show and NSNG, and he's more NSNG than anybody I know now. And this motherfucker has a 6-pack and he does not work out.
Don't you hate him? I would sue me for that too.
That's what I'm saying. I hate this guy so much. Like, I get that he was a state champion athlete in college. That's great. But he's almost 50. He doesn't work out at all, ever. And he's in the best shape he's ever been in. And he says it's your fault. So now I have to sue you for that too. So thanks, a-hole.
Hey, I'm guilty, man. I can't help it.
All right. Vinnie Tortorich, thank you again so much for taking the time out of your busy day and your hectic schedule with all the businesses you're running to hang out and let us get to know even more about you and your new film, Beyond Impossible. I appreciate your time so much. And I'm proud to call you a friend. I don't know if that's okay with you, but that's what I'm going to do, is call you a friend.
Steve, we are friends. So you take it easy. I literally have 6 minutes to go get on with Gina Grad, so I got to rock and roll here.
Oh, rock on. Well, tell her I said hi. I can't believe you've named so many people who were on my show. Well done.
That's right. She was on the first group of shows.
She was. Second group. Thank you so much, Vinnie. Tell Gina I said hi, and you have a great rest of your week. Also, tell Serena I said hi. Bye.
I will. Bye.
Beyond Impossible.
You've been lied to, but here's the scary part. It's not going to stop.
Let's just take the amino acids, the fats, from another source and recreate those. So we're taking the animal entirely out of the equation.
The vegan diet is everywhere. Now we're being told that having a fake product is better than the natural product. And this is coming from the people who used to tell you natural is better. Follow the science.
Yeah, I'm cherry picking only the science that exists.
You don't change your ways right now, the planet is going to end in 2 years.
Eat food, not too much, mostly plants.
Do they care about the environment or our health, or is this just purely economical on their part?
The critical thing to investors is this is a $1.5 trillion global market. It kind of reads to them as this is worth putting some money into.
And then there's the argument for a sentient being.
We love animals. We love Cecil the lion.
Because you became vegan, because you're eating fake meat, does that mean a sentient being didn't die? Well, guess what? There's no free lunch.
Yeah, 3, 2, 1.
a Vinnie Tortorich film. Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2001 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is from the song Say My Name off the 2021 album Underdog Anthems, used with permission from Jack's Hollow. If you like the show, tell a friend. Subscribe and rate and review the show on iTunes and wherever else you download podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All the episodes are available there as well. Check me out on Vero at Fascination Street Pod and TikTok at Fascination Street Pod. And again, thanks for listening.